creative is now the target. Different styles of creative are building different parts of the funnel. So your top, middle, and bottom. Bottom's always going to look the best in platform because it's closer to the actual event. So the attribution can get captured a lot easier. So if you're in bottom of the funnel, it can say, hey, this ad contributed to the sale because there's fewer days, fewer interactions compared to the first, click per se, or the first impression, whatever you want to call it. And so with that being said, a lot of companies like the one you're showing is falling in the trap of, okay, top of funnel ads aren't working. We're getting a lower CPA. Let's pause that. Middle of funnel is also not working as well as bottom of funnel. Let's pause that and let's just go to bottom of funnel. Bottom of funnel can't educate, and so the quality dies off, and it's just going after the easy scoop ups, which is then killing the business because easy scoop ups don't necessarily mean quality traffic and people that want to convert.
This is actually it's a tier 11 account that we just took on, where I'm actually doing the evaluations for it. You can start to see how this goes a little bit haywire. So we're going to look at, for a creative, honestly, like we don't even need to go into that. They said last good month we had was January. Okay, so I got to go to January. And so what was interesting here is looking at January. This is pre-Andromeda. Their Andromeda launched February. That's where everything took off and tanked off a cliff. In January, fantastic performance, right in line with everything that they wanted. And what ended up happening back in January, if we look at sort of descending by amount spent, they were using a lot of good creative. They were doing iterative testing. They had different variations, different versions of them. They had some leads. They had some website leads. They had some meta leads. They were doing some CAPI imports and looking at 35 meta leads and getting only 4 qualified, or they get 4 conversions, about 33 qualified marketing qualified leads from CAPI imports from HubSpot. They were doing all sorts of cool shit. Like, great, this looks fantastic. And if we look at to say what had ad impressions over 0 during this time period of January, let me just pause camera. It'll help this thing smooth faster. No one wants to see my face. I want to see the data anyway. There was 166 ads that were running. So there was a massive amount of good ads, $406,000 in spend in January and 166 ads running. Now, they became a big fan of the channel recently. And so I can't really show you what it used to look like before they changed everything. If we look at April here as an example, this is before they started changing everything in May going into June. So we can see now a difference. This is April compared to January. If we look at January, here's what I want you to take a look at. In January, sorting descending by spend. So we have 8 different pieces of creative, and I removed the duplicates. So we have 8 pieces of creative. So we went from 8 pieces of creative down to 4. And then these 2 were subsequently paused, which forced more concentration on the ones that were actually only one. If we look at what was actually active, well, actually I can't say active because it was on back then. So that's actually not fair. I have to actually turn it back off. But what was active back then were basically the first 5 ads, 4 of them were the same. So the reason why they stuck with this one, there's a lot more here that I'm going to go through, or that I could go through. Long story short, they started to optimize for too much in-app CPA, and they started to do too many leads off of Meta, where they were going through a massive amount of leads in order to find kissing 1,000 frogs to find the prince kind of thing. That's the part that they ended up going through. But the education portion was basically reduced from, hey, we had A/B testing, different audiences, all that stuff. And then all of a sudden the creative did the targeting. Well, the creative did the targeting by these bottom of the funnel ads, the UGC, earned all of the in-platform metrics. They stuck with that from February, March, and April and tanked the company. They're now getting fired. Now they're getting
cycled warm traffic.
It's cycled warm traffic, but also they had a low quality of traffic. Mm-hmm. One of the other things that they did was they went heavily. If you look at the last 7 days as just an example, they still have these 2 working. The same things that was working in May, all the majority of the spend going there. If you look at the concentration, and they are now. I wish I had the. Let's just do this here. But we look at the leads. It's okay, we have 22 meta leads, then we have in our 19 meta leads, and then they have some. Then they have some 2 leads coming from website, and then they have another 34 meta leads. So they basically went all meta leads. What this did was they went from sending diversified educational content and users to the website and then importing conversions. They now stripped all the education. So now they don't even send a person to the website anymore. And then they stripped all the education because now they've stripped all of the ads that were quote unquote poor performing. If you strip the ads that are quote unquote poor performing, you're simply saying like, hey, I'm going to remove this chunk of the sequence. That's all you're doing. You're not saying I'm removing the bad versus the good. I'm removing this chunk of the sequence. So what they whittled down to, unfortunately, was basically now just the top 2 performing ads that they can import. But now the cost per lead is now 800 and 1100. I'll just stop one more second. Back in April, these things used to have a better cost per lead. Geez, one last thing. So it's more than doubled since April because they've reduced the as to only what was showing conversions, which stripped all of the other education that they used to do. Okay, I'll pause there.
So in terms of just summarizing what you said, because I know some people probably got lost there. So creative is now the target. Different styles of creative are building different parts of the funnel. So your top, middle, and bottom. Bottom's always going to look the best in platform because it's closer to the actual event. So the attribution can get captured a lot easier. So if you're in bottom of the funnel, it can say, hey, this ad contributed to the sale because there's fewer days, fewer interactions compared to the first, click per se, or the first impression, whatever you want to call it. And so with that being said, a lot of companies like the one you're showing is falling in the trap of, okay, top of funnel ads aren't working. We're getting a lower CPA. Let's pause that. Middle of funnel is also not working as well as bottom of funnel. Let's pause that and let's just go to bottom of funnel. Bottom of funnel can't educate, and so the quality dies off, and it's just going after the easy scoop ups, which is then killing the business because easy scoop ups don't necessarily mean quality traffic and people that want to convert. So
exactly right. To give you an analogy, it's like they shut off Meta to hopefully grow their brand campaign in Google.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy. Just said that. Or
Jason Roaz, analogy.
Analogy.
I don't know.
Analysis.
Analysis of the analogy.
There you go.
Exactly right.
Going on.
So that when you're talking about content and creative, and I know we've covered this before, but still the same people that are working, still the best is that we even started producing, they were producing other creative that they said, hey, let's add, hot dog version. Here, let's just say, let's talk about the new creative that they sent us. And this is actually
so bad.
We're actually we're gonna go over that. But hot dog, this got $29 in spend. The reason why is when we're looking at the creative that was running here, it's like, yay, okay, let's target. Oh, I actually have people that are already being targeted by this type of ad. And it immediately just shuts them down. And it happened all 4 times. So the creative only got $29 out of the available $4,500. And these were new ads. So the reason why this is also going to fail is because when we have the creative doing the targeting and they're still on the, I don't know why this thing never works for me. When they have they're showing like basically dexterity voted best hot dog handling glove. Like it's kind of a fun video where you get the 4th of July thing. Again, like this is kind of fun, interactive.
Shows you awesome.
Yeah, kind of cool stuff. But what's the bad part about this is we already have a product demo and a product feature ad. So this essentially says, thank you for the glove squishing the hot dog, but I have no idea who to give this to. And anybody I would give this to, I'm already having spend going to them. Like it's not better than the ad that shows what this is about or where it's made or how it looks after 1,000 days.
So features and benefits are more beneficial than just trying to be funny with a hook.
Well, what's funny about this is if we look at our handy dandy notebook, as the Blues Clues guy used to say before he abandoned us all in our childhood, it doesn't fit any of the content diversification metrics. So is it founder story? No. Us versus them, product demo, customer testimonial, AI ad, feature benefit, face camera, whitelisting, positioning test, UGC. No. Bad user experience. We're sorry. No ad spend for you. Yeah. And we upload 4 of them. It's like, they don't care. Same for result. We're going into an element where creative teams have to really understand traffic flow and media buyers have to really understand how creative affects targeting. This is a bridge that has never been built either by both sides, not in commonality. It's the media buyers are just sitting there saying like, throw some more content at us. And then shit just starts flying over the hill. And we're like, all right, cool. Now we got to figure out what to do with this.
You need to be managing creative at the same, like creative direction as well as media management. That's kind of the viewpoint I have with it. Like you can't segment the two. It's just, it's not as clean.
Exactly right. And so that's the reason why we had to have our meeting today was if we had that meeting before and it's like, John, I'm going to take a hot dog and we're going to squish it. I'm like, why? Like, I get it. I get that it's cool and interesting, but post that socially or organic.
Yeah,
Organic social
exactly.
posting, great. Running an ad behind it, 4 different variations, I don't think so. So it doesn't fall into one of the 10 categories. It doesn't have enough substance in order to go and find its own targeting. So unfortunately, that went nowhere. And I'm not going to replace anything that I currently have running because they're so much better at doing education and interactivity, which means you are now in learning actively from that ad. You are involved involuntarily, but it's still involved. So what we have to look at now is a creative iteration process. And what Meta has been trying to teach a lot of advertisers for like the last 10 years. It's just they didn't structure their tech to support it. So what I mean by that is if we're looking at the last 30 days of what's still working and still doing, having good performance, we have to take a look at, okay, how do we make this better? So this Flatlander features ad is still winning with, a decent amount of ad spend, about a third of the ad spend. And so this one, stop wasting money in gloves that don't last, and all the reasons here. We can absolutely make a better, more iterative version of this where we are doing an in-action shot. So now it's not white background. We can do it where they're like grabbing a hold of barbed wire to show like the rigidity and the strength. And then we can also say highlight the vein protector right there. When handling dangerous equipment, this is the vein protector. We can still put all of the other ones there, but we can absolutely make this a little bit sexier of an ad. That would be the next round of creative that we're actually producing now from our meeting today. This is all stuff that we went over. So when we're looking at this, it's like, excellent. We have a goat leather gloves hand sewn or hand steamed in Vermont, USA since 1920. So this shows a 17-second video of the steaming process, basically like fitting and customizing and yada, yada, yada. Yeah. So this here is like, okay, this is actually like handmade. This is a $120 glove because there's physically a person there like stretching this and steaming it so that it is form fitted to your hand and comfortable. Something you're not going to get at Walmart, from the sweatshop that made it in China. Yeah. So that's literally our competition. That's who we're going up against. So that is like, great. It's steamed. What about sewn? What about where you're sourcing the products? What is the stitching made of? Is it deer sinew, like where it used to be from the deer intestines, the strongest, and it's dried? Or is it something else? Is it like, knockoff baling wire kind of thing? Like, so all of those things that we are doing to produce content creative and produce a value first type of approach or educating it is what people are gravitating towards. I'm not sure if there's any Meta users out there. I'm sure there's probably some of you that have a Facebook or Instagram account, but what you'll start to see now, what I've noticed, and especially my wife, who's a big advocate of social media, I asked her, I said, hey, have you been seeing more educational story driven content? She goes, yeah, now that you mentioned it. She goes, and then she started seeing it every day. And she's like, I'm seeing more founder story, more creative, that is more educational, more something emotional, that is a little bit
storytelling. Yeah.
Right. And she actually started to get some ads from new clients that I've been working on that have been starting to expand. It's been hitting her. Now that's probably just targeting from the same IP address. I've been on their website, but still didn't get the ads before, switched to Andromeda. Now she's starting to see those ads as well. So it's kind of funny how the creative is now driving 100% of the targeting. It's clear as day how this is working, and it's performance driven. So the data that you're feeding it in terms of conversions is just as important as the content that you're producing. So now we're in this weird trifecta where it's like data and then creative and then, kind of traffic. Like all three of those have to be kind of firing in sequence and in sync.
Under one person, ideally. Yeah,
exactly. If one's disconnected, everything falls apart. It's like a 3-legged stool, I guess. And so when we're looking at the types of creative that we have to produce, still, reference that kind of, 10 content categories. If it's not in those 10 content categories, it almost seems like Meta now just kind of ignores it. It is very interesting. So yeah, that's a portion I want to kind of talk about with the creative. Hey, if you like this video, we have a school community where we have a few hundred members and we cover topics, everything from the basics to all the way to the like hyper crazy advanced stuff that's like coming out next month. So a few hundred members there. We go live twice a week, something with an hour-long education about something that is very relevant to the community that week, plus a weekly Q&A where you just get to come and bring us all of your problems and we solve them one at a time.
So I have a link below in the description if you want to join. And then obviously if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we can answer those for you. And we'll see you in there.